Henry, you're welcome once again.
Thank you, Father.
The last time we came, we discussed about young people and the future of this country and their contribution, and you gave us your insights. Today, I'd like to discuss about gratitude. We are in a country that is highly endowed by God with human resources, with natural resources, with good weather, with arable land, a rich country otherwise. And somehow I don't see this reflected in the attitude of many young people. When you go through the social media and see the comments of young people, everybody is just complaining. Everybody. We have what is called an entitlement mentality. People think that they should have more and more and more, and there's very little sense of gratitude for what we actually have, while looking for better days, while asking for things to be better, and while working towards better days. I don't see this attitude of gratitude much in this society. A lot of young people of your generation think that their future is to go out of this country, even if it means going to bury themselves in the Mediterranean. Others think of going to America and so on and so forth. But this country has been written off by many young people, which is very unfortunate. And I want us to discuss, because I see you are an expert on gratitude. I've heard you speak at various fora on gratitude and the importance of the attitude of gratitude. So, what has gratitude to do, or to what extent will a disposition of gratitude help our country move forward, especially help the young people work towards a better Nigeria?
Thank you, Father. Yes, gratitude is a virtue and is a Christian value that we must all live. But the emphasis is not more on the value itself, but on grateful living.
Grateful living.
Because just like David Benner said, giving just cognitive assent to certain propositions is not faith.
No.
It is how you believe. Now, it is not enough to say we should be grateful for the things that are around us. It is not enough to say gratitude is a value. We recognize it. What do we do? So the emphasis is more on grateful living than on just recognizing gratitude as a value.
How do we live gratefully?
Now, we can only live gratefully if we understand, first and foremost, that our lives are just privileges from God.
Our lives are a privilege from God.
That's starting point.
We are a gift.
We are a gift from God. So whether I'm living in London, I'm living in Canada, or I'm living in Nigeria, I am a gift to the entire humanity. And so the person who is living in London or living in Canada is not complete until I am complete. In some sense, whether the person lives in Canada or lives in Nigeria or lives even in the remotest part of this country, we are all one and the same. Until we understand that, we now begin to look at life from a different dimension.
So this is like the ecosystem now.
Yes.
Where the biodiversity, where that ant there that is walking, crawling on the ground there, its existence is important for my own existence.
Yes.
So I should be grateful for
even
that
for
ant.
that ant. So when you realize that, although a lot of people may say it's this kind of thinking is religious, it is not only religious, it is actually the real sense of our existence. Because cosmos is balanced. Every human being, everything that exists is connected to each other.
Everything else.
So I am part of that existence. I am part of that interconnectivity. So I should be grateful for that privilege that I have.
So you are grateful that I, George Ehusani, am alive?
Yes.
Good.
Because you contribute to my well-being.
Oh, wonderful.
Once I understand that, then my disposition to life changes. My orientation to life changes. Part of the reasons why a lot of people just live their lives is because we never spend any time contemplating. So if you begin to hunger for meaning, you will come to a point where gratitude will overwhelm you.
If you begin to hunger for meaning, you will come to a point where gratitude will overwhelm you.
Because you get to the point and you look at, I read your work on engaging the world with passion. And you mentioned something that part of the first things you learn in theology is to learn that every worship, whether Christian, Islamic, or whichever, comes from a position of awe.
Yes.
You first of all become awe that the existence
That's where religion
of a supreme being. That is where religion starts from. And that is where gratefulness comes from. When you understand that, look, there are a lot of things that you are doing that you don't have control of. Our lives, for instance. How were we born? How did it happen that I am light-skinned and you are dark-skinned? How did it happen that I was born in one part of the world and not in the other part of the world?
We are not in control of a lot.
At all. And so our only disposition is to say,
thank you.
Thank you. And that is where grateful living starts from. When you live gratefully, you understand life better.
So, in order to even recognize that our lives are a privilege, that we are a gift, that aside from all the problems of society, the fact that I'm alive is worth thanking.
It's worth thanking God for.
But to recognize that, you need to reflect.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do.
Is that not where the problem is?
That's
do
where the
people
problem
reflect?
Is. People don't reflect. We are always in a hurry. David Standerhurst said, we don't stop, we don't look before we go.
Stop, look and go. Explain
and
what that means. What does that mean?
And he gave an instance. Said in elementary school, he was taught that before you cross the road, look left, look right, look left again before you cross.
First of all, before you cross the road, you stop.
You stop.
Then you look left and right, and then you go.
Cross. Because if you don't, you could just be hit by oncoming traffic. Now that is how most of us are passing through life. Just believing that this life is to be enjoyed. But what are you enjoying? We are consumed in the distractions of life. And so we begin to look at everything as part of our effort. So when I go to school, I think, yes, it's because I'm making effort. Good, we need to make effort. But if we don't enjoy a certain privilege that is given, even the effort to make will be in futility. You mentioned in one of your interviews how the best student in your class
never went to high school.
He never went to high school. Not because he did not want to go to high school.
His parents didn't have the resources.
They didn't have the money.
So it is not by my power that I went to high school or tertiary education. It's given.
It's given.
It's a privilege.
So even when he would have been to high school and become one of the best people in the country, because that opportunity never came his way, he would not have that opportunity to take. Now, for all of us who enjoy every single opportunity for increase, every opportunity in our lives, we must be grateful for those opportunities. Although he too may have enjoyed other opportunities that you have not enjoyed. So he may not just be looking at going to high school as a disadvantage. There are other things that will
no. For example, he could get married at age 22 and
which you may not
and then have big children very early in life, since he never went to high school.
So when we begin to understand from that dimension, that's when grateful living starts. And we have high expectations for life. And part of our expectations lead us to crave. We keep wanting more and more. And they say the love of having increases by having. Once I have one, I want to go to.
Desire something else.
So desire does not stop. It begets another desire. So more is not enough. There's a book in social psychology that the title of the book is The Paradox of Choices. Why more is less. So there's a tendency that the more you get, the less satisfied you begin to get with what you have, and that's what has been driving a lot of us in life. That's why we are not grateful.
I mean, it's a beautiful book. I read it some 20 years ago by Schweizer. His name is it's a psychiatrist.
Yes, yes, psychiatrist.
Schweizer is his name, and he demonstrated that actually our generation is in trouble.
Yes.
Because we begin by thinking that, if I can only have this, if I can only have that, and then you have it, then you discover if I can only have these other ones and these other ones, at the end of the day, if we do not have the discipline to say it's enough,
we'll continue in that reckless pursuit.
Yeah, and people who are always desiring more and more are never grateful, because if you stop and you look and then you see how much you already have, then you may hesitate about buying more.
And gratitude is connected to happiness.
It's connected to happiness.
I have read in different literatures that happiness is not a tangible thing. It is a state of mind.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people want to be happy. In one of the recent articles I wrote, I asked a simple question: why should somebody have 65 pairs of shoes? A lot of people laughed at that part of the comment I made. 65 pairs of shoes, but I said yes. Even in this country, there's someone who had 65 pairs of shoes. The reason is because when you buy one, you feel if you just get the next one,
your life will be better.
Your life will be better, and you go for the next one. More because some of us think we can afford it. Now, you are in pursuit of happiness, thinking that that happiness you're looking for is connected to those little things. But ideally, happiness without those things exists. When we lower our expectations, then we are more satisfied.
Mm-hmm.
They say he that is down needs fear no fall. If you interpret it in a different way, you say the man who is on the floor cannot fall beyond the floor.
Yes.
So he's already at the base. But the person who is sitting on the roof, if the roof gives way, he falls to the floor.
He is constantly afraid of falling.
So now, happiness only comes when we lower our expectations.
Happiness only comes when we lower our expectations.
And it's part of the reasons why there's suffering in the world. You may have asked questions: why do people who have so much still gloat? They say the rich also cry. So you don't need to become rich so you don't cry.
Well, people keep thinking that if I can only have this, if I can only have that, then I'll be fulfilled in life. You are saying that is an illusion.
It's an illusion. It's a complete illusion. And actually, happiness is a state of non-illusion. When you live in that illusion that, look, just try something more. I shared with some of my friends. I wanted to put a little building together, and I thought a 4-bedroom will do. You know, my architect came, drew up a plan for a 4-bedroom apartment. And so when I was looking for a plot of land to set the building on, I couldn't get a sizable plot. So we got a smaller plot, and he said, look, I will redesign this for a 3-bedroom. And I felt no. But eventually we did a 3-bedroom. After we moved into the 3-bedroom, I was looking around. I was like, if I had made this space, if I had used up this space, if I used that space, I would get 4-bedroom. Actually, I lived in that place for 2 months. And I had a call from my friend who wanted to come visiting. So I said, okay, let me prepare the guest room for him to stay. And I just realized that I had never entered that guest room for 2 months since I've been living there. When I opened the door, it was all cobwebs. And I wondered, so if I had 4 bedrooms,
it means you have 2 rooms that nobody uses.
Now, getting more is not enough, because it will lead us to try to get more. We live our lives on the base, pushing away all the distractions. That's the only point where we can get happiness.
So, what do you have to tell the Nigerian youth who thinks that it's all miserable, there is no hope for this country unless I move out of the country? How can this grateful living help people to see, okay, what can we do to fix this place? We are grateful enough to God for putting us here. I mean, it's a wonderful land, it's a beautiful terrain. Well, we have had a lot of issues with leadership, with the management of this society, but we have a lot to be grateful for. So let's put hands together to repair this place. How can you use this, your message of grateful living, to stimulate, motivate young people to work better for this country?
Now, the first thing I will tell you, Father, is to say that when you have conversation with every Nigerian, the first thing you get from us, from every other Nigerian, is that this country can be better than it is.
Oh,
I mean, this is not the best we can be. Now that's where the opportunity lies for all of us.
There is that green light.
Yes.
There is that silver lining that this country can be better.
We do. We all recognize the fact that this country can be better. So that is where the opportunity lies for all of us, especially the younger ones. Now, there's an opportunity for us to do something. If we are grateful people, if we are living our lives understanding that, look, every opportunity that comes to us is for us to advance the cause of humanity, then we'll begin to look for those problems where we can fix. And it's only from that attitude of being grateful. We should be grateful. I once heard Mother Teresa, one of her recordings, that she was grateful to the poor people she was serving.
Yes.
Because from the service she gave to them, she had the opportunity to obtain grace for her own life.
Yes.
Now,
that is it is those poor people that gave her life meaning.
Yes. There's a problem in the country. Yes, we are complaining, but stop. Think a little. Now that's where your opportunity lies. Opportunity to go fix something. Because from fixing, you make the life of the person who is coming behind you better. So we must look at those opportunities that lie in the troubles that we have recognized, instead of just sitting down and complaining. We should be grateful for the opportunity to be in this troubled country.
We had this quote from Mother Teresa about don't complain about leaders, or he says don't just think about leaders being the ones to do the thing. Take a broom, sweep somebody's room. You see, Mother Teresa says do something. Take a broom and sweep somebody's room. Then society will be getting better.
Yes.
It means you will make one person's room better. You will make one person sleep with clean air if you just take a broom and sweep somebody's room, rather than forever complaining. They say it's better to light a candle than forever to cause the darkness. So your message is young people should do something.
Take advantage of the opportunities that lie ahead of us. See, there's a lot of work to be done. We have seen people who changed the life of a lot of us. Martin Luther King, for instance, who in his time there was so much of victimization. He did something about it, and we all celebrate him. But whether he was assassinated or not, he died a fulfilled man.
For sure.
He died.
He even knew it was coming.
He was grateful for the opportunity he had to live in that time, because he had that opportunity to do something about it.
And it gave his life
meaning.
So the young people of today should know that bad as things are, the Chinese say that every crisis is a dangerous opportunity.
Yes.
So bad as things are, we do have before us
an opportunity
for
growth. I visited a slum very recently, and I was discussing with one of the residents there, and he said, look, it's sad that this is where we have to live. I said, yes, but thank God that you are living here, because it makes you recognize that there are people
who live like this normally,
even though your economic circumstance takes you above them. But you understand there are people like this. A friend of mine, when I traveled very recently, told me, look, I'm working so hard to make money, but I fear that I don't want to make money and lose my sense of the humanity in me. That I see a lot of rich people who are around me who don't feel for the ordinary person.
They are with tinted glasses,
yes,
and whatever.
And there's no connection. So I told him, I said, thank God that you are living here, because you see people who are living ordinarily, and there are examples to you that life is actually beautiful. You see, these distractions we have. We have seen people who have done a lot of research on gratefulness. Apart from it being a Christian value, people in academics have done some work on it to say, okay, what are the benefits? Are there benefits people can derive from living gratefully? And some of those leading researchers have shown us that we benefit from it emotionally, personally, socially, health-wise, and even in career. People who live gratefully make better relationships, because you are in a relationship and you want to be the one who is receiving, never having the opportunity to give to the others. Those who live gratefully.
So those who are grateful, those who live more gratefully, they more easily give.
Yes.
They more easily deprive themselves and let others have because they are grateful.
So they become better partners, or better
husbands
and wives,
parents and children.
Yes, because they are always giving away.
No.
And St. Francis of Assisi says, it is in giving
that we receive. So this whole attitude in Nigeria about entitlement, because this is one of the obstacles. Many of us in this country have an attitude of entitlement. We are entitled. Many Nigerians don't like to pay tax, but we want our road starts. Yeah. We want water supply. We want electricity. but don't tell him to pay tax. Don't tell him to do any community service. Don't tell him to pick the piece of paper by the roadside. No obligation. We just want entitlements, all kinds of privileges and entitlements. And so how are we going to deal with that situation? Because with an attitude of entitlement, just entitlement without any obligations, that's not evidence of a grateful person
at all. A grateful person is who has more. The person who is grateful has more because he's willing to lose what he has. The scripture tells us that those who want to keep their life will lose it. And I read a fantastic interpretation of that part of scripture to say life itself is like a breath. If you try to hold your breath,
you die. You have to breathe out.
You have to exhale it. It is until you breathe out that you can live. When you try to hold it, you die. And our possessions are like that. It has the capacity to enslave us ourselves.
No, it does, of course.
So what we can do is to live our lives from a position where we consider that we can always give our time, service, our intellect, and material things to other people.
We live in a highly materialistic society, highly acquisitive society. That's why greed is such a dominant common denominator in our society. How are we going to, a lot of people in your sphere of influence, a lot of people in the schools or whatever that you visit, how are we going to teach our people that it is in dying that we live? It is in giving away that we really have. Because there's this grab mentality in this society today.
Want to have,
and a lot of young people have been sold to this acquisitiveness that I don't know how easy it will be.
I listened to someone very recently and told me that while he was working, while he was in active service, he was earning reasonably, and his friends were buying properties here and there. And he sat back and wasn't buying properties. So one of his friends called him and said, look, better invest your money, buy properties, buy and keep. And he said, look, I see that the more properties you people are buying, the more energy and more time you dedicate to looking for a way to secure it. Now, the person who wants to have, I give you an instance. I work in the bank, and once we had a customer who walked into the bank. You know, the problem we have is while we're sitting inside the bank, people just come in. They come in their ordinariness, if you allow me to use that word. So everybody who stands in front of you is the same like the next person. You don't know the kind of vehicle the person drove down to the bank. You don't know the kind of house the person slept in. You don't know the kind of bed he slept on. So all that things that the person has that looks glamorous, that look so expensive, don't matter to me when I'm relating with the person. I relate with the person as who he is. So we had a customer who came in and was furious the way he was attended to. So after complaining and all that, we persuaded him, and he was going out. One of my colleagues said, look, let's see the kind of vehicle he came with. And while he was going out, we went to look at it. We saw him in a Hummer stretch car. And we're like, man, that guy must be a big man. It only came because we saw the vehicle he drove in. That's thought, that's impression of him came afterwards. But we had a first time impression of who he was. And that's how we are. We are all human beings. And what we are human beings, irrespective
of what car you came in,
what car you have, what type of house you live in. Those things, yes, they are good for our social experiences, but it doesn't change who we are. Once I shared that, look, I happen to have been born in a particular state, and by virtue of boundary adjustments, I now
belong to
another state, but I'm still the same. I have not changed. So when we recognize ourselves for who we are first, all these additions we'll begin to look down on them.
Is it not even emptiness, I would say, that makes people think that it is the titles they bear, the properties they acquire, the number of wives and children they gather, that give them meaning? I mean, how can we raise our young people to recognize that what gives meaning to life are intangible? That the things that enhance our purpose, that give meaning to our lives, are not the tangible things. They are not car, they are not house, they are not honorary titles, they are from things that come from inside, that are available to everybody.
Yes.
Things that money cannot buy.
First, I say we must adjust our approval systems, our social approval system. A lot of us who are privileged or in positions where we can direct the minds and thought processes of society seem to give so much attention to those things, and that is why there seem to be higher attraction to it. So the more people glorify having, the more people glorify properties, the more people glorify titles, others who are coming up look at it and say, okay, this is what society identifies with, so they too will want to identify with it. Now, on our own part, we must demystify it. We must begin to say that these things don't matter by living simply. Secondly, by allowing people have experiences that will teach them. Because whether you like it or not, my brother-in-law once shared with me how he met a former commissioner in Delta State who built a massive house, made money from politics and sent his children abroad. Unfortunately for him, after building that massive house, he sent his children abroad and he's living alone. So he called him one day and said, look, don't make the kind of mistakes I made. If we don't learn it now, then our own experiences will begin to teach us afterwards, and it will be a time when we will regret.
A bit late.
That all these things we have done are all vanity. All vanity. I share my experience with you. Where I live in, we have pockets of bad spots on our road. So very often on weekends I go out to cover those. But so there was the woman who was building close to where I was living. Each time she comes by the weekends, she sees me by the road. So she always felt that, oh, that guy who helps us to fix the road. She never greets me. I try to greet her most times, but she never does. And unfortunately for her, she now attended the meeting of property owners around that place. And when she came to the meeting, I happened to be the secretary in that meeting. And she was looking at me like, is it not that guy that used to help us fix the road?
That guy.
And I said, fixing the road does not make who I am. I am who I am first and foremost. And all of us must understand that the next person, that person who is fixing the road, could just be you.
I mean, how we got to a stage where we don't seem to recognize the distinction between being and having. And the fact that having is not what should take priority importance. It is who you are. It is being. You know, like you said, people see you, even when you arrive at the gate of somebody, the guy has a gate man. If you arrive in some rickety vehicle, there's a way the gate man looks at you and tells you your guy is not in.
Not
but if you came in a serious SUV, he's all over the place. And yes sir, and before you even knock, he has opened the gate and so on and so forth. So at the end of the day, it is not the human being, it is human having. It is the human person that has.
That is recognized.
Yes, and if we keep passing this on from generation to generation, then the consequences are terrible for society. Yes. My hope is that the young people can begin to see that the path we have trod all this while will not take us home.
Of course.
The path of greed, the path of avarice, the path of superficial living will not take us home.
Won't take us
and that we need to begin to, like you said earlier, about thinking, reflecting, reading. So as to, I'm quite impressed with, as a young person, your level of scholarship and exposure in a lot of these ideas. And my hope is that with the various groups you belong to, that you can encourage people to read. It's an information age.
Yes.
If you do not read, the world will leave you behind.
And beyond that, even the law of use and disuse, the brain and the mind are just like every other tissue.
If you don't use
it, you lose it. If you use it, you will improve it.
A lot of people are not using it,
and that is why
the cells of the brain, the neurons are dying.
We are now retarding. Instead of growing, we are retarding. You see the quality of decision people make in public offices. You see the quality of decision people make when they hold positions. You wonder. It is because we are retarding.
The brain is not being used.
There was a conference, I can't remember actually exactly the title, but I think Chidi Odinkalo and co, who had a talk in Lagos about learning, teaching without learning or learning without teaching. I can't fix it, but the whole crux of it was to say there's a lot of academic work that is going on and
but
people are not
learning.
improving. Yes, people are not improving, and so we must improve ourselves. Begin to decipher between what is good and what is bad. Begin to decipher what is necessary and what is not. And I asked someone the other day, when you change your phone, do you change it because your phone has become less functional,
or because
there's a new phone?
A new one has come out.
So we must begin to buy things for their use, not for the perceived social status that it brings.
Not to give me a status.
Because you need a phone for use. The phone does not make you.
Now, in this society, the phone actually enhances your public image. Your car enhances your public image. The part of town you live in enhances your public image. So the dress you wear, the shoe you wear, they all enhance your public image. Perhaps what does not enhance your public image is who you are. is the person behind the facade. You know?
But ironically, all these you have mentioned are human creations. You mentioned the book earlier when you talked about Professor Key and his work, Sexploitation.
Yes.
He said, culture is manufactured. This culture of phone giving you status, car giving you status, is actually manufactured. And very often it is manufactured in the media.
And manufactured by those who are benefiting from it.
Because most often, there's an economic dimension to most of this. A lot of us don't see it. We just think that, oh, yes, this is what is fanciful, this is what is in vogue. But the person who is creating it has an economic interest. And most often, they push it to us, bombarding us sensually. The techniques advertisement is using, the numerous, even just mere exposure to social media, you begin to pick clues about these things and you want to be part of it.
I have been speaking with Henry Ijomah, transaction services head at Sky Bank, talking about the young generation, the youth who are future leaders, and ideas, exchanging ideas about what kind of virtues, what kind of values could change our circumstances so that the country will be better for them, and then their life will have more meaning and realization and self-actualization in the coming days and years. As we end this program, can we have something on a very positive note about your hope for Nigeria?
This country will be better.
This country will be better.
Definitely will be better. The only thing we need to do is to appreciate where we are and think of where we can go from here.
This country will be better. The only thing we need to do is appreciate where we are and think of where we could be if we put a lot in. Thank you very much, Henry. And it was nice having you in the studio.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.